How's it everyone, Grant here and welcome back to the channel. And today I'll be doing an unboxing of the 2017 Galaxy J7 Pro. And so I've gotten a few comments requesting this device, especially to do camera comparisons against the A7 2017. I picked this up earlier this year and I did some camera comparisons against the S7. People want to see the J7 Pro up against the A7, so I hopefully should be able to do that. But we're going to go ahead and unbox the J7 Pro here. And I picked this up on eBay for $275. I had to import it because this is not available here in the US. So this is only available internationally right now. And as you can see there by some of the writing. So it's not exactly the cheapest budget phone here. This is the A7 is kind of like their mid-tier device. The J7 Pro is a step below that. But a lot of the specs are fairly similar. So kind of like how Motorola is having an identity crisis with their phones. Samsung is cranking out a bunch of phones too and is kind of in a similar boat. Turn the box over. Here's some of the specs here. So you can see there, Galaxy J7 Pro. This is going to be the 16 gigabyte model there of internal storage. It does support micro SD expansion. It's a full metal body design, so it's got a metal back. This is something that we don't really get here in the US, are Samsung phones with metal backs. They're usually all glass. You can see there are 13 megapixel cameras on the front and on the back. I think it has a pretty wide aperture, an f-stop of I think 1.7. So it's a little bit wider aperture than the A7 2017. But a little bit lower megapixel count, but we'll see. This could perform better in low light than even the A7 did. Of course, you get a fingerprint scanner here, 4G LTE. Now, it does not support all the US GSM bands. I believe it's got bands 2, 4, 5 maybe, and maybe 17, but it's lacking, or maybe not. I think it's lacking bands 12 and 17 actually. So 2 and 4 is good enough for T-Mobile and AT&T. Those are its main bands. 12 and 17 are more of the deep penetration kind of bands for buildings. So you should still be able to get 4G LTE if you've got T-Mobile, AT&T, or any of their MVNOs here in the United States. 64-bit octa-core processor. I'm pretty sure that is the Exynos 7870. So the A7 I think had a 7880, so just a step below that. But because it's got an Exynos processor, it should perform very well. Pretty much every Samsung phone that I've owned that has its own Exynos processor in it performs beautifully, much better than the Snapdragon's. Except the S8 with the 835, that was probably the only exception. Again, you see those 13 megapixel cameras on the front and the back, and we covered 16 gigs of internal storage with micro SD card expansion. I believe this does come with 3 gigs of RAM as well. So we'll go ahead and just cut the tape and see if we can get it out here. So it comes out just like that. So the packaging, pretty flimsy, nothing too special here. It's really fairly cheap, thin cardboard, but that's fine. It's really not a flagship device here. And there you can see the device itself. So I've got it in this blue silver color. I thought it was kind of like more of their coral blue, but as you can see in the light, it's kind of silvery. So blue silver color. And we'll lift up the phone there. You can see the specs that we just went over. And we'll check out what we get in the box. Open that up. So we got some literature that I can't read since this is an imported phone there, but you do have that. And you're going to have your standard wall charger, and this is the international wall charger, obviously. And is it an adaptive fast charger? Doesn't say. And output is 5 volts, 1.5 amps. So no, not really a fast charger there. 1.5 amp output. You do get some earbuds there, as well as your standard charging cable. I think it's a micro USB. Yep, so they're still using micro USB here in this model, not Type-C. And that should do it for the box. And we can bring back in the device here and try to slip it out of its wrapping here. And I accidentally pushed the button, so it's booting up there. So there you can see Galaxy J7 Pro. And we'll go ahead and take off the sticker here. I hate when they put these serial number stickers on the back. So here you see the back of the device here. And you got your Samsung branding. It is a dual SIM device, indicated by that Duos. There is your 13 megapixel camera with your flash. And we have our antenna bands here. I don't really like this antenna band design, how it comes in like this. I would have just like one line across if they couldn't at least hide it within the chassis and the frame. But that is there. And it's hard to see, but this is a blue phone. And they call it blue silver. And a lot of the pictures, it looks like they're blue coral kind of color that they have on some of their other devices. But in person, it is not nearly as blue as those photos, especially under these LED lights. It is definitely a silverish, bluish tint. And I quite like this. So a lot of folks I think have gotten the black or the gold. I'm quite liking this blue silver color here. As you can see here on the right hand side, you have your side mounted speaker. So it's not coming from the bottom or from the top. It's a side mounted speaker. I kind of like that on the A series. and you've got your power button. On the other side, you have your volume buttons up and down there, and you have a SIM card and your micro SD card tray. And so we can pull out the trays here, and as you can see here, for SIM 1, it's a single SIM nano SIM tray. But on the second tray, you have SIM 2 and your micro SD card slot. So that's very nice. You can actually use 2 SIMs plus a SD card all at the same time. It's not that hybrid tray where you only get 1 SIM and a micro SD card or just 2 SIMs. So very nice. You can use all 3 cards if you want to in this dual SIM device. And on the front, you can see there we have our flash, camera, speaker cutout. You've got your home button as well as your back and multitasking button there. And on the bottom, you have your primary microphone, micro USB port, 3.5mm headphone jack, and there are those antenna lines. So we'll just go through the setup and come back in when we're in. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done the setup. There's really nothing special in the setup that was any different from any other kind of Android or Samsung setup here. Fingerprint scanner was really easy to set up. No haptic feedback though when I was pressing it. That was interesting. But otherwise, as you can see here, it's pretty much the updated Samsung UI, Samsung experience. Looks just like the Galaxy S8, S8 Plus. So you can swipe up or swipe down to access your app drawer. So if we swipe down here, you can see same kind of interface. We'll turn on the brightness maybe a little bit. But as you can see here, since it is a 1080p Super AMOLED display, so it does get very, very bright here. 5.5-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display, so very nice display here. And if we go into settings, we can go ahead and check About Phone and software information. And so you can see there it's running Android 7.0 out of the box, and it has got the June 1st security patch. And we can go into device maintenance. We can check out the memory. So as you can see here, it is using up 1.4 gigs of the 3 gigs of memory out of the box. And we can check storage. And there you can see it's using 6.2 gigs of the 16 gigs available out of the box. So not too bad, but still a little meaty there. And we can check for kind of what's pre-installed here. So you've got all your typical Samsung apps there. Google apps, Duo's installed there. Microsoft apps, so that's a bit of bloatware there. You've got your Office suite, Skype. And that's seemingly it. You've got a radio, so this apparently has an FM radio as well. And a few other apps here. Secure folders available if you like that from Samsung. But not a ton of bloatware, but still about 6 gigs eaten up out of the box there. You can launch the camera app, see what that looks like. It's probably going to be your standard Samsung camera app UI, and it is. And we can go ahead and swipe in, and you can see all the modes that are available there. So you do have a Pro mode, which is manual mode. We can look at that if you want. So you can control things like ISO, white balance, etc. So that's nice considering it's more of a upper budget type of device. Right below their mid tier. Continuous shot, HDR, sports mode. Not really sure what that is. I'm guessing it's for maybe high motion. Maybe they play with the shutter speed there. Sound and shot, night mode, panorama mode. Go back to manual. And we can check the settings here. So you can see picture size, 13 megapixels. It's already preset to the highest count there. Video size only goes up to 1080p recording, so you don't get 60 frames per second or 4K, which is a bit of a disappointment, considering that some of the Moto budget devices actually go up to 4K. And what else do we have here? You can quick launch the camera by pressing the home button twice, so that's standard for Samsung. Floating camera button, so you can press a soft key if you want on the screen. That seems to be pretty much it. We can try to take a photo. So we can try to stand up something there. And see if I can get this on camera. Go ahead and snap a pic. So fast shutter speed like you would expect. And a pretty crisp photo under some really nice lighting here. So we'll definitely test out the camera. I'll try to do a comparison with that A7 to see if the wider aperture and slightly lower megapixel count add up to a better overall camera experience or not. And lastly, as you can see here, we'll maybe launch a few apps. So you can see some launch times, but we'll also show off some of the performance here. So we can get into that, we can get to YouTube. And maybe the Play Store. But you can see the animations are very smooth. And if I hit recents, I can scroll through all the apps. All that's very smooth. Transitioning through everything is very nice and smooth. So Exynos processor here, I'm expecting it to be very smooth, even though it's not the latest and greatest Exynos. I think it's still probably the same Exynos processor used in the International J7 from last year. I'm not really sure, but all I know is that when Samsung puts their own Exynos processors in their devices, you get a very nice, smooth experience. And lastly, we can do a quick comparison. I can bring in the A7, and as you can see, you have always on display here, which is nice on the J7 Pro, just like you do have on the A7 2017. So the A7 2017 is a 5.7-inch device, 5.5 here on the J7 Pro, but you can see there what it looks like and how it compares. That nice metal back on the J7 versus this glass back on the A7 2017. There is a side comparison there. So you can see it there. They both have that side-mounted speaker, as you can see there. J7 is going to be thinner, but overall pretty much the same, except a metal back and a slightly smaller display. We can also compare it against maybe the S7. So there's the S7 5.1 or 5.1 inch device, I think, so a little bit smaller there. Of course, you have that glass back versus metal, all that good stuff. And then the S7 Edge. So this is the coral blue S7 Edge versus the blue silver color here in the J7 Pro. So you can hopefully see the differences there. About the same, 5.5 inches on both, so about the same height. You can see glass back versus metal and really show off. Let me wipe that down. We can really show off that coral blue color versus that blue silver color there. Got the gold trim on the sides there on the edge, and you can kind of see how much thinner the edge looks just with that edge display. And for fun, we can bring in the Galaxy S8. So the S8 here, 5.8-inch device, but overall about the same height there. It's going to be more narrow because it has that 18.5 by 9 aspect ratio versus your traditional 16 by 9 aspect ratio. Not that much thinner as far as width. Thinness is hard to gauge with the case on, but I'll take it off just so you can see the back. And again, glass back. This is the orchid color, silver blue, blue silver. And lastly, we've got the S8 Plus, which is going to be much taller, obviously, 6.2-inch device. And same aspect ratio. You can see it there from the side. And I've got a case on this one, but it's going to have that same glass back versus this metal back here. So that is just a quick unboxing of the Galaxy J7 Pro 2017 in blue silver. So I'll try to do the camera comparisons I normally do, especially against the A7 2017, since that seemed to be the most requested. If you want to see it compared to anything else, or if you want to see anything else in particular about the J7 2017, let me know in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.